Hello everyone, and welcome back to the mildly impressive chronicles of an okay ace attorney. Okay, so here we are. We are currently cross-examining these witnesses. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment, the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing. Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, that young lad in black, that much I did see. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. Therefore, wait, I wasn't reading, hold on. Judge, please, I need to read. One sec. These are compelling. Please let me read, Ryunosuke. I'm not on autoplay. Okay. There we go. Dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman over and out. These testimonies are incredibly compelling. Yes, they are. Wait, that's nonsense. Ryunosuke, why do you say yes instead of objection? The victim, Dr. Wilson, wasn't alone at all. Please, enough of these outbursts already. But there was a woman. There was a young woman at his table. You must have seen her. Everyone there must have seen her. Objection. If you call yourself a lawyer, then you will respect the rules of the court and speak accordingly. Seems like the rules are pretty loose, because so far, have not been punished for, speaking out, like, multiple times about, yeah. So, one sec. I need to open up chat. Okay. Here. Wait, that's the wrong thing. I need to reload this back. And here we are. Alright, there we go. I've got chat open. And it's time to begin. Alright, if you call yourself a lawyer, then you'll respect the rules of the court and speak accordingly. I do not like this dude. Ouchie, I don't like you. We are not here to listen to your fantasies. It is evident beyond all reasonable doubt that the victim was alone at the time of the incident. The prosecution has photographic evidence of this fact. Is this a photographic print of the scene of the crime council? Oh, so it is partially eaten. That was just obscured by the chair earlier. Oh, and the glass is partially filled. Okay. The date of the table at which the victim was dining, taken by an investigator immediately after the incident. As can plainly be seen, there is only one place set. Certainly, based on the appearance of this print, it would be reasonable to conclude that the victim was not in the company of anyone else. This doesn't make any sense. That's true. Court will add this new photographic evidence to the record. Photographic print of the crime scene has been entered into the record. I don't understand. Okay, let me check the record. Bottle of carbonated water and steak lunch. One sec. Sorry, I had to sneeze and I didn't want to peek the mic. So, let's examine this. So, looking around, alright, used fork and used knife. Partially full, flowers. Yep. The chair does seem to be facing the opposite direction of the food. But I'm not sure how important that is going to be. Also, he's not in the chair. I don't understand what's going on here. That's a good question. It's just not possible that nobody else saw that woman. The waiter before said the same thing. He maintains that Dr. Wilson came to the restaurant alone as well. So, one thing that I can conclude from this. So, previously, yeah, okay. It would seem that those straps are a sign of the surgeon being too strapped to afford a nanny. So, Nosa cannot afford a nanny. And also, Korekuta, he lost a coin, a valuable coin, while he was trying to sell it to Nosa, which means Nosa stole the coin, which means he is at least in one way a criminal. But he may not have murdered him. It could be the woman. He maintains that Dr. Wilson came to her son alone as well, but that's not true. I saw her. I swear that I saw a woman with him. It would seem that we'll be able to telegraph the report to Great Britain on time after all. The witness testimonies we have just heard leave no further room for doubt. I don't know what you mean by that. These are very sensitive political times, as we all know. The ink is still fresh on the treaty with Great Britain. To think that I, Taketsuchi Aochi will have contributed to the amity of these two great empires as an honor. Ellipses. How can this be happening? The judge is ready to rule. Cross-examine your dudes. Stand tall, Ryunosuke, it's not over yet. What? If what you say is true, then there's something going on here behind the scenes. And now is your chance to expose it, to draw out the truth in your cross-examination. I don't know, Kazuma. The defense is entitled to cross-examine the witness, but make it quick, understood? Psst, rules can be so unbending at times. Ugh. Cross-examination. The true culprit. Yep, okay. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing. Which is not the same as the same thing. Yes, pointing his gun to the foreman, he was that young lad in black. That much I myself did see. That doesn't matter. Furthermore, visuals to the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Indeed, alone he was the Englishman, dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman. So, can I check the evidence without presenting it? Oh, here it is. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Yes, when he's gonna for a man, he was that young lad in black, and which I myself did see. It's almost the same thing. I'll press him on this, and then I'll press him on the other thing. Precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing. No. It's not the same thing at all. True. For a start, I didn't fire that gun. You have a difference of opinion on that. The opinion of a uniformed officer versus that of a fledgling cadet. I don't think so. Consider this, defendant. Just a moment ago, I blinked. Did you? Did you see it? Did you see me blink? How could I? And yet, it is an undeniable fact that I did blink. So there you have it. Okay, cool, we confirmed you blinked, but not that I committed the murder. Anyway, have what? Attention. The sound of the firearm rang in my ears in the very next moment. I saw you waving the gun at the Englishman. I think that says it all, don't you? Let's check the court record, because there's evidence. Let's see. We could do this. This is the layout, but I don't think that really means anything. Carbonated water and a steak lunch. Let me look at this further. So, there does not appear to be any gunpowder on that side. Actually, when was this taken? After the body was removed? Because there would have had to have been blood. Unless it was internal, which it seems to have been. The knife is with steak sauce on it, or like that. It couldn't have been blood because we confirmed it's from a gunshot. Let's check. So there's that. There's also the waiter's business card with a sketch of the restaurant's layout. I could present that, but I don't think it's relevant, and I don't know how you would use that information. Grr. And let us not forget that the antiques dealer witnessed the accused in this most incriminating position as well. Isn't that so, Korikuta-san? Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, that young lad in black. That much I myself did see. Yes, that's true. Yes, it may be true that I was holding the gun at that point in time. But I've told you already, that's only because I picked it up off the floor. Well, obviously, as the culprit, that's the only way you could explain it away. I had just finished drinking my coffee, and I was about to leave the restaurant when I noticed a gun on the floor at Dr. Wilson's feet, so I picked it up. And at exactly that moment, bang! A gunshot rang in my ears. Full of events beyond our control, life is. Sorry, what do you mean? In your case, you found a pistol on the floor and picked it up, which precipitated this testing predicament. Whereas, conversely, I failed to pick up the koban from the floor and find myself in an equally testing predicament as the result. Anyway, the fact remains. Myself, I did see you, with pistol in hand, standing over the foreigner. That's true. But that doesn't mean anything, as we've confirmed. Anyway, confirm that we were the only personnel present. Hold on. I could push that by presenting some evidence. Even for ourselves in the precise moment. It's very different. I already pushed on that. Furthermore, search. I'll press this for more information. So you can press all of them, it seems. Without that. You must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there. As you've been happy to point out time and time again. I feel I'm growing a callus in my ear. Objection irrelevant? And yet no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman. Yes, that's true. If only there had been more people dining there at the time, then someone else would have noticed her. That's true. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when it happened. The quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. I know. Of course the place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of a time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at that time of day, and why he was alone. Yes, Your Excellency. There was indeed a reason. Okay, what's the reason? There was? This was found in the victim's jacket pocket. Okay. This is useful information. Why did he not show us? It is a medical report card, Your Excellency. It seemed the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant. Hota clinic? Or Hota? I guess Hota, because it's Japanese. But yeah. There would indeed appear to be an entry for the date in question. 19th November, noon to past 1 p.m. Very day of the incident. Yeah, so the victim went for a late lunch following his appointment. The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on the case. I wonder. What do you think, Ryunosuke? Well, it's hard to see how it could be related, really. True, but or you can request it or to be entered if you think it could be useful. Yeah, I think that would be useful. What was this medical report card, I mean, it would be more useful. Why not? If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency. On what grounds? Court has already heard conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern. Objection. Whether or not they are of concern is up to us to decide. We have a right to explore our possible avenues. I beg your pardon? You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request. Tisk. Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It is a most disturbing trend. Yeah, real disturbing to assert the rights that you have. Ouchie is just a not great guy. He's an old dude. And also it's mentioned in his report that he doesn't like the new cultures that are coming. So on top of being against people having rights, he's also racist. This dude is not a great guy. Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record. A medical report from Hota Clinic that was found in the victim's pocket. Okay. What we need now is clues, new clues. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. That's very true, that's so true. Anyway, medical report card. It was found in the victim's pocket. Report card. Okay. Right, I hear you. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival already for you. What does that mean? Or perhaps you'd forgotten that these witness testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, Korakuta-san. Indeed, alone he was the Englishman dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman over and out. Aren't you telling the truth? What did you say, cadet? I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed, but for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. ... Ellipses, they're clearly seeming to hide something. Unfortunately for you, Defendant Naruhodo, it's not just a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter whose testimony the court heard earlier clearly stated the same thing. He also said the victim was alone. That's right. Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. But I... If such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time. There's nothing I can say to that. Kazuma. Do you have any ideas, Kazuma? Ha 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 ha. Okay, Kazuma. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. We've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. That's true. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. It didn't let me inspect it. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. Am I allowed to do that with a magnifying glass and stuff? You'll notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. These are the ones you make say. I literally did that! Dude, I wanted... It didn't have one. You can look at the piece in question. Okay, I can't read Japanese. Well, I mean... I kinda can. But that's not exactly the case. Rotate it in all directions. Examine it from all angles. Okay. By using that. Yeah? What about it? You can move the crosshairs around to hunt for clues that may have been missed before. If the crosshairs start to pulsate, press A to investigate further. I see. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. See if there isn't something new to be learned by examining it in more detail. Alright, I'll see what I can do. That works. There is no magnifying glass. Dude, what do you mean? I need to use and A to inspect any areas of the evidence that look suspicious. Looks like I can't, actually. Oh, well, it just... Okay. Required for every visit? On the back. Oh? What's this? What if I peel that off? Or open it? Okay, what does these say? Let's have a look. This is some kind of medical history. Ah, and there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar... Wait. So, that with topical anesthesia, that means he couldn't have gotten around on his own. He would have had to have someone guide him and help. Also, I just realized, on our little, like, collar thing, there's just those two for being at school, and one other thing. There's also those two, but there's also a star, because he's a good dude. He is a good noodle. Okay, extraction of molar, you mean he had a tooth taken out? It would seem so. Just before the incident, he had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they used laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. How much more modern are they compared to us? Are the Brits compared to the Japanese people? Although it's hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you feeling pain. Ah, there's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure until anesthetic effects have passed. Which means he couldn't have eaten that, meaning the food, it was set for one, but the one was not him, the one was the phantom lady. Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. The medical report card's information has been updated in the court record on the day of the dental. A record of dental work on the day of the murder. The victim had undergone dental treatment and been prohibited from eating or drinking anything but water. With this new information, the meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. So I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing. That wouldn't... Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, that young lad in black, that much I myself did see, that's true. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. That's not true, so I'll keep that in mind. Alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. That's also not true. Wait, dining all by himself, that part is important. The dining. Therefore, no one of the... Okay. I will choose specifically this one to present the evidence. Cool, medical report card. And good to know that I can use L and R and stuff to look over that. I guess this is technically the tutorial, so... Oh, whoops. What am I doing? This is... What am I... okay, there we go. can't find... Oh, right. Move it with the left stick. And left... So then... Okay, here is the one. Let's have a look. There is some kind of medical history. Ah, and there's an entry for the day the professor... We already covered this. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth... Yes, I have already confirmed all of this, and we are presenting evidence, not looking over it. So will you please just... Actually, did I press present, or did I press the magnifying? Stop you feeling pain. Ah, there's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. That's true. With this new information, the meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. So I think it's time to listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. Yes, I'm... Oh, X is present, right, duh.
Yes!
Well, I think, About what are you wittering, lad? Call yourself a lawyer? No, I don't. I wish I could, but first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Ryunosuke, everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clearly in that cross-examination you just carried it out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully, you knew exactly what it was you wanted to say. Yes. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. That's kind of mostly true. Alright, and thanks for the advice. Korakuta-san, this is a medical report card belonging to the victim. I see. And I don't see. What of it, boy? Comparing what is written on the report card with your witness statement, something clearly doesn't add up. Dear me, have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. I don't like you, but let's see if I can explain in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Yes. Whatever he may or may not have done before that time is completely irrelevant. Untrue. Grr. But that's, Remember, Ryunosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point. Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There is surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witness testimonies the court has heard have been clear and concise. This statement is grammatically correct, but it's wordy and not concise. Grammarly can help. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides this pale-faced pupil who could possibly have perpetrated the crime. This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? What? That outburst half petrified me, boy. Of course I believe it. How could it possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Hota Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? Is that supposed to mean something to me? Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just had a tooth extracted? What's this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result the victim had been forbidden from eating. Just what are you trying to say, cadet? He had orders not to eat, so what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't... Korakuta-san. What, boy? What? As you just heard, when he was killed, sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more. You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case. Grr. Because the victim, as we now know, just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthetic. Arg. Even the baby is like, exclaiming in shock. Expertly done, partner. What is this nonsense, you little upstart? Ellipses. These are baseless accusations. Just look at this photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table. Why does that mean that... Yet he couldn't have eaten. Yet use your head. Exactly. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't you follow the logic? How dare you? I think it's fair to say that the tables in this restaurant's case have turned... Kazuma, you can't do that. Okay, wouldn't you agree, Ryunosuke? Yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beef steak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel? It was the Phantom Lady. Counsel. Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of you turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it. So, the person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been... The victim himself, no, it couldn't have been. Me, no, I said I was just drinking coffee. Two witnesses, no. An as yet unknown third party. Obviously, it can only have been someone who was sitting at the professor's table. You will not let this go, will you? There is no such person. Yes, there was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, you know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything. Yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was somebody else there eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witness testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this state, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial, relentlessly. Okay. Kazuma. Are you insane? You would take on the government? No, he would take on you, with the government's help. Because he is correct. Don't worry, counsel, I have no issue with you. I do. What do you mean? I have issue with them, those two witnesses in the stand. Well, I mean, I have issues with them too. What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So if it now turns out that the two of you are deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously, you will be charged with perjury. Perjury? And, since this is a murder trial, you will also be deemed complicit in the killing. Complicit in murder? No. So they're gonna, like, back off now? Hold it. Negative. There was no mention of this at the tactical meeting. I was just following orders. All of the war stuff. That's right, as the man says. They say you never saw the just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they told us. Ellipses. Oh. What? What did you just say, Korakuta-san? Oh, no. You were just saying you were just following orders? Now hold on, lad, I was, say you never saw the gentlewoman? Grr. When you say gentlewoman, do you mean the Phantom Express? I mean the Phantom Lady. You saw the victim with the lady from overseas? What? What is the meaning of all this? These witnesses gave false statements? Is this true, you pair? He's acting like he doesn't know, as if he didn't give the orders. Just one simple slip of the tongue. Your tongue needs to slip pretty far to say, the only thing that the prosecutor told us is to claim to have not seen the so-called Phantom Lady who shot the guy. Order, counsel, explain what was going on here. It's painfully clear now. You tried to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth. Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this. Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? That's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. Ryunosuke. Judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Ouchi had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. It can only have been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any ideas about who might be behind this? If we can affirm who tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was that tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. We'll need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly... Remember how we made progress before? We examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh, yes, that's right. Could it have been... What piece of evidence we have is it? No, it's not actually. Specifically, I would like to see Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga. Primary Criminal Investigation, Imperial Police Bureau. I see, so that's why he didn't want to give it up, because of the back. He's working for the police. We need to re-examine everything and make sure there's nothing we've missed. I understand what you mean, Kazuma. There's no time to lose. I want answers. If it's proven that these witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be severe. Please, wait, Your Excellency. I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god. I knew nothing. And what does the defense have to say about all this? Well, Your Excellency. No time to think. I'm just going to have to close my eyes and shout out the first name that comes to my head. No, Ryunosuke, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses is... Satoru Hosonaga.
Yes!
Well, surely that would be... Satoru Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier? Poppycock. What possible reason could the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have that level of influence. For once, I would agree with you. If, that is, the man truly were a waiter. What? If he truly were... Come on, Ryunosuke, time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga-san's real identity, as proven by this evidence.
Yes!
I'm not sure what this is supposed to prove, Counsel. I think, Your Excellency, that what this proves is not the true nature of the waiter, but the true nature of the accused. Sorry? A blackguard who would stoop to presenting irrelevant evidence to incriminate an innocent man. That is the true nature of this rookie. What do you mean? Try again, go over all the... It literally says on his business card that... Okay, I guess. Postmortem report. That's not it. It's absolutely not. This university collar pin. It says Imperial with a number on it. The photograph of the victim. Couldn't be that. Waiter's business card. It is undoubtedly this. Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga. Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. It's not the name that's unexpected, it's his job title. His job? Oh! Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. Well, let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence. If they're wielding it somehow here... The waiter's business card information doesn't... Okay, so it was correct, but I didn't talk to the other dude about it. I just noticed it myself. Okay, so... I am still correct. Alright then, I'll try. So I'll keep that in mind for the future. Come on, Ryunosuke, time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga-san's real identity, proven by this evidence. The same business card as I presented before. Point of the restaurant sketched by the man in question. I agree it shows a great deal of attention to detail, but I'm not sure we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency, that's the back of the card. It's the back of... It's of the back of the card. It's the back of the card that's of interest. Meaning the front. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have said the front? Yeah, you should have, Ryunosuke. Yes, it's the front of the back of the... It's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is. It's the front of the card, Ryunosuke. Would somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Hosonaga-san sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession. His true profession. The waiter's profession? But that's surely... Good gracious! That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of this before? The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power. Absolute power as far as regular civilians are concerned. So, witnesses there in the stand. Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen this foreign gentleman at the scene? Well... Hold it. Inspector Hosonaga. I was worried something like this may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility. Yeah, he did look nervous, and like, we even noted that as a character. Taken and added to the court as evidence. Oh, well, is there a problem? And the plan to the court officer at once. Of course, here you are. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake. So, you mean to say, you really are a detective? But why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Ah, of course! Your salary must be terrible. I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes, there have been a series of incidents at the restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant? What kind of incidents? That would be classified police information, which I am not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case of homicide. Very well then, Inspector Hosonaga, but you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you, that at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would also have been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner. Therefore, I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct? Ahem. Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable. As I suspected. Ellipses. Bang. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the same table was a young lady, who I assumes to be an Englishwoman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the Bureau. It was then that I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say someone was ordering to remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once? It was made clear that the Englishwoman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this Englishwoman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interest not to pursue that idea. Exclamation point! The Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect, well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the Phantom Woman in this case. But it's not right. Now, to sort of hold you at a cliffhanger, I will be right back. I need to go for a second. Shouldn't be too long. I'll see you in a second. Hello, I am back. Welcome back to the stream. Or I guess I'm the one that's coming back. My cat is in my room now. So, it's not right. Ellipses. From everyone. Even Kazuma is ellipsing. One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? Yume University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain, and I'm fairly certain that one of them, studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory, is a young Englishwoman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. Exclamation point, you mean? When I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. The court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The Englishwoman sitting at the university professor's table was a certain Miss Jezile Brett. She is indeed a foreign student studying in the research laboratory of Yume University's medical faculty. What is happening here? Murmuring in the court. I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene, and order these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must now be up to your excellency to decide how to deal with this situation. Very well. My thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise. Namely, that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered that this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point. But Your Excellency, that would mean missing the noon deadline of a ruling in order to send the telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions. Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings of my courtroom. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes, sir. You will locate this Giselle Brett and escort her to the courtroom with the utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency. But that means you'll be going against special orders you were given from the police bureau. As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So, it won't be a problem. Ahem. Nothing will get in my way. Very determined man. Also, question of the day, would you guys like to watch me play Dark Souls? Dark Souls 3. I've never played a Dark Souls game before, or anything in that genre, but I want to, try. Court will adjourn briefly. The prosecution must call the English student, Giselle Brett, to the witness stand. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Your Excellency... Good. Then we will have a 30-minute recess before reconvening. To be continued. Cool. Save? Yeah. Let's do that. Overwrite the save? Yes. Saving. Save complete. Cool. 22nd November, 11:38 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature Defendants and Antechamber 5. I know how to read. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. That was superb. My heart was in my mouth the entire time. It was almost unbelievable. I mean, looking at you in there. You were drenched in sweat, your eyes popping, your knees knocking, and you were grinding your teeth. It was a grim sight, but before I knew it, you'd started finding inconsistencies in the testimonies. I think you might have a natural talent for being a lawyer. Forget it, it's terrifying. If I get through this, I don't ever want to see the inside of a courtroom again. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, it looks as if we've exposed your phantom lady at last. Exclamation point. Miss Giselle Brett, a student from Great Britain. Is she? That's what I was trying to tell everyone from the start. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone. There was a young woman with him, like I've been saying all along. Yes, you have, haven't you? You really would not shut up about it, man. I might not be overly confident in the courtroom, but my powers of observation are one thing I'm sure of. Yes, I can see that. So, about this young gentlewoman. Thanks to our detective friend, she was hastily escorted away from the scene. Or escorted away from the scene, it seems. Did you see what happened with that? No, I didn't see any of it. I was just on my way out of the restaurant myself, then on the floor next to Dr. Wilson's table. I noticed there was a gun lying on the floor, and just after I bent down and picked it up, bang! I didn't have time to think about where the sound of the gunshot had come from. The waiter ran over to me looking as white as a sheet, and he bundled me into some sort of small pantry next to the kitchen. Fast thinking by the detective, he apprehended his suspect without a moment's delay. Yes, and because I was shut in the pantry. I have no idea what happened outside in the dining area. Oh, there you are. Well done, both of you. Was that the professor? Yeah, it is. And the Mystic Maya look like. Professor Miki Toba. Well, it seems I was right. The pair of you make an outstanding team. You've exceeded my expectations, I have to say. Yes, it seems you planned this from the start. You arranged things so that I wouldn't be able to act as a lawyer in this trial. our modern country is still in its infancy, our justice system even more so, which is why I firmly believe that we need to send our brightest young stars overseas to learn all that they can. I wanted to avoid a situation that may have resulted in your study tour to Great Britain being cancelled. Well, it makes no difference. Lawyer or otherwise, if I'm the kind of man who can't help his best friend avert the worst crisis of his life, I shouldn't waste everyone's time by going to study overseas anyway. What? What are you saying, Kazuma? Wait, what? What are you saying, Kazuma? So that's your stance. I was afraid you'd feel that way. Kazuma, well then, it looks like it all comes down to you, man. Young man. To me? Yes, you need to prove your innocence and uncover what really took place in that restaurant. I must say, I very much want to know the truth. After all, I have a personal connection to this case. Come to think of it, he said the same thing earlier this morning, didn't he? If you don't mind me asking, Professor, did you know the victim? Yes, I did. As you're probably aware, Dr. John H. Wilson was a visiting professor at UMaine, and it was I who invited him. Oh, I see. I didn't know that before. Anyway, you're about to go into battle. I was not told of this. I thought this was just court. Are we fighting the English? Anyway, the victim was a university professor from Great Britain, and a well-known one at that. Naturally, our government is looking to identify and punish the culprit as quickly as possible. And they want it to be someone from Japan rather than England, because that would make it look better to the government. They need a scapegoat. But yeah, but let's not forget who we're going up against. The gentleman whose involvement our police bureau went to extraordinary lengths to hide. Yes, and I'm sure the prosecution will be using every tool at their disposal to quash your case. But I've no doubt that you pair will put up a good fight right to the last. Best of luck. Thank you. Now then. I need you to run an errand at the university at once. There's something I think we may need. Of course. Good luck, Kazuma-sama. Oh geez, she has a lot of respect for him. Wonder why that is. I guess because, like, he's a big, important dude, but, like... Oh, is she, like, the professor's servant or something? Because the use of sama. Sama is a very, like, formal thing that you'd call, like, your masters or God. People call God Kami-sama. And, yeah, so. Defendant Naruhodo. Court recess is over. Please make your way back inside the courtroom at once. It's time. Let's get back to it, partner. Let's go in there and deal a decisive blow. Before those old fossils know what's hit them. Kazuma? What? Thank you. Really. What for? Dude, you could have just said you're welcome. What do you mean, what for? You carried us throughout this whole thing. And you've, like, complimented us and stuff. Like, you don't... What for? Dude. Well, if you hadn't said you believed me, then I'm fairly sure I'd already have been found guilty by now. Look, I have faith in you. As a lawyer, and as a friend. Coming from you, that means a lot. If I'm found guilty in this trial, he's really going to give up on his dream of studying abroad. That's the kind of true friend he is. So this isn't just my battle anymore. Whoever we're up against, we absolutely cannot afford to lose. Alright then. Okay, whoever. Alright then. I'll save the thank yous for after the trial. You can treat me to one of those sukiyaki meals I like from Yume Cafeteria on University Street. With an extra large portion, of course. I want to try sukiyaki, it sounds so good. Why does his, like, headband always flow to the right? And why is there wind inside? Anyway, 22nd November, 12:09 p.m., Supreme Court of Judicature, Courtroom 2. The court hereby resumes the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Prosecutor Auchi, have you managed to subpoena? I don't know what that means, so I'm looking it up. Under penalty. The term subpoena literally means under penalty. A person who receives it does not comply, but does not comply with terms may be subject to civil or criminal penalties, such as fines, jail term, or both. Okay, so it means under penalty. She like is under the penalty, hard control and whatever. So, have you managed to subpoena the witness? Yes, Your Excellency, against all odds. And thanks to a certain young stripling, the prosecution is now under rather painful scrutiny from the government. Yeah, sorry. Why? Why are you sorry? Let the government scrutinize. That's their job. It's nothing to worry about. Yeah. It's highly unlikely that the good relations we've forged with Great Britain will emerge from this trial unscathed. Well, you still think it's nothing to worry about when the new treaty breaks down and our nation founders? Again, terribly sorry. Again, don't be. Why? If the friendship between our nations is really so fragile, then the treaty isn't worth the paper it's written on. You really have nothing to worry about, Ryunosuke. True. What do you mean? A secret trial, anxiety over some foreign government's opinions, a bungled investigation, missing witnesses. Is this what our nation's justice system is? Is this the Supreme Court of Japan or of England? Shut up, you jumped up Ricky boy. With your jumped up kicks. Nothing of the situation our nation finds itself in. By aligning ourselves with this great world power, we'll become strong. Diplomacy has never been more critical. Steady political maneuvering is what will secure our futures. Is that really how they spell it in British English? Or is that American English and I just don't know how to spell maneuvering? Probably the latter, but yeah, and the former. I won't deny that I'm no expert, I'm just a student, and one who could arguably study harder too. Dude, you don't need to out yourself like that in a court. But standing here now in our Supreme Court, there is one thing that I feel very strongly. A country that fails to uphold the truth in its justice system is a country with no future at all. Exclamation point. After an ellipses. Exclamation point after an ellipses. Well said, Ryunosuke, despite the wide-eyed look of terror. You little brats! Thank you, Counsel. This court is the pinnacle of our nation's justice system. It exists solely for the pursuance of truth. With that in mind, this trial will now resume with the next witness taking the stand. The visiting student from Great Britain, Miss Giselle Brett. Yes. Your Excellency! So this is her. Oh, what a delight it is to welcome such a fine gentleman to Japan, and from such a distant land. So we don't have her on the record yet. Tea! Someone bring English tea! In England, no discussions take place without tea. Is that true? No idea. So, could we possibly trouble you to state your name and occupation for the court? Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I have been working undercover as the head waiter of Le Carnival, but my Yes, we know all about you already. Inspector Hosonaga, where are your manners? In England, it's always ladies first. Is that true? No idea. It is. Or it was at the time. I think they changed now. Whatever. More importantly, a little earlier today, you said something to me. You said your powers of observation are the one thing you're sure of. Oh, yes, I think I did, didn't I? Your description for this amazing sight was simply a woman. Sorry, Ryunosuke, but powers of observation aside, your powers of description are sorely lacking. Guilty. Dude. You're... It was simply a woman. Sorry, Ryunosuke, but your powers of observation are sorely lacking. Guilty. So, like... Basically, Kazuma's just calling that woman hot. Ryunosuke is just like, yeah, but I didn't want to say that in front of the court. But yeah. Aochi seems to agree. And he is... How old? 51, and she is in college. So. Oh, and she wears the mask. She is Joker from Persona 5. Oh, okay, it's because she's speaking English and we can't read English. Or we can't understand English because we're Japanese. Or she just has, like, huge speech impediment or something. I can speak English. And to a certain... Well, I guess it's just because the characters, obviously. But yeah. I'm terribly sorry, dear lady, but... What? Hosonaga is being the English translator. And she's saying, like, all this. The lady says her name is Giselle Brett. She comes from London, England. Is she on the record? There we are. 24. He's 51, fawning over a 24-year-old British exchange student who is studying under the victim at UME, the university's medical school. She comes from London, England. She's a visiting research student, currently enrolled in UME University's medical faculty. Oh my, what a rare treat to hear the dulcet tones of delightful language of the British people. I'm afraid I don't understand a word you said, but it was as beautiful as a hummingbird's song. As far as I can tell, the detective is translating her words faithfully enough. Yes, I agree. You'll obviously do fine in England. Kazuma, her English doesn't rattle you at all, does it? Nor you. You've clearly been paying attention in your English classes, Ryunosuke. Crazy how we speak English. Well, I mean, I understand that, like, we're in English classes and stuff, but why couldn't we, like... Why is it only him that understood the English, then? The court thanks the beautiful lady for taking this stand. Why is everyone... There is not a single person in this whole case that's not, like, so obsessed with her. We can't see the judge in this. We can see Kazuma and Miki Toba, who's not even a part of the case, and not the judge. Whatever. Now, if we may trouble you to confirm something, Miss Brett. Ellipses. 3 days ago, at a restaurant called Le Carnaval, a grim murder took place. The court has been led to believe that you were dining there with the victim, Dr. Wilson, at the time. Is that correct? English? English. She says, yes. This could take some time. So even though she's studying here in Japan, she can't speak any Japanese. English. English. She'd like to apologize for disappearing from the scene. She says that she was due to make a presentation at the university, so she had to leave immediately. Interesting, when you're the one who engineered her escape. I was just following special orders from the Bureau. Well now, dear lady, would you be so kind as to cast your eyes over this photographic print? Seeing as you were so unfortunately present at the scene of the crime, could it be that your resplendent eyes caught sight of the wicked perpetrator, perhaps? English. Apparently, it was a very frightening and sorrowful sight. Do you mean to say... Yes, it would appear the lady did witness the crime. The very moment when the accused, standing right there in this courtroom, shot the victim in cold blood. Order. Order in court. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? Here we have an absolutely conclusive witness statement. Well, it looks like it's clear now. Clear who our real enemy is. The Brits! We gotta take over Great Britain. Unfortunately, I will have to ask you to formally testify, if you please. Kindly tell the court the exact nature of this frightening and sorrowful sight you described. English. Or English? Witness testimony. Alright, finally. A frightening and sorrowful sight. English. I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beef steak. English. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor, and they got into a fierce argument. Then, not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. English. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit. This is a condemning testimony indeed. Yes! No, I didn't have any kind of argument with the professor at all. Quiet, you filthy wretch. Look at you, you black-hearted blackguard. And look at this snow-white angel. That's racist. Ouchie, this is Black History Month. I don't think you're allowed to say that. I'm sure even a dark-minded scoundrel like you can imagine whose words the court is going to believe. Ugh. You're still making the same mistakes, Ryunosuke. You mustn't blurt out when you're goaded like that. It's a lesson you need to learn. What happened to what you said earlier about, like, if you have something to say it and speak your mind and stuff? Hold on. So I didn't have any kind of argument with the professor at all. Ugh, but he's so annoying. True! Of course I was at the scene as well. I took statements from this lady and the two witnesses who testified before and reported back to the bureau. It was decided that Miss Brett was not involved, so I let her go. The testimonies of the last two witnesses were completely worthless, however. Well, even so. On the day in question, the lady was wearing the same outfit as she is today. Yes, it seems. As you can see, there is nowhere about her person where she could conceal a firearm. I would think she could hide a gun almost anywhere in that outfit if she wanted to. True. Unless and until the precise location where the witness is to have hidden a weapon can be shown, this is moot. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. Those are the witness's own words on the matter. That's ridiculous. If only I was allowed to lift up her Oh my... Ryunosuke. No. Not in a court, Ryunosuke. You're not allowed to do that. They should send you to jail for that. But I didn't fire the gun I picked up. There must have been another gun there that day. You're right about that. Which means this lady was hiding a gun somewhere. Yes, that's what we have to prove now. And to do so, we will need to pull her testimony apart. She smiles slightly. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. Cross-examination time. A frightening and sorrowful sight. I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. The professor wasn't able to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beefsteak. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor and they got into a fierce argument. Yes! I never got into an argument with the professor. All I did when I noticed him was go over to say hello. Please don't get angry with me. No, I wasn't directing that retort at you. It was meant for the lady next to you. But anyway, as I said, I did not argue with the professor. I'm afraid your words are in vain. Sorry? Miss Brett does not appear to speak Japanese. No, of course not. Japanese is such a cumbersome language. Ouchie! You're even racist against yourself? Dude, friendly fire will not be tolerated. English is the future. We must all speak English. Dude, please stop. I wonder if the prosecution will feel that way forever, or only the presence of a beautiful woman. Well, that beautiful woman is telling blatant lies with a completely straight face. I have to find something that will unravel her testimony, no matter how seemingly insignificant it may be. Anyway, it seems that after the argument, the accused briefly returned to his own seat. That part ties in with what you said, doesn't it? Yes, I still had some coffee to drink. And the next time you got up after that was when I'd finished my coffee and set up to leave. Ellipses. Then, not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. Yes! Like I said, I did not shoot that gun. And like I said, there's no point repeating that assertion over and over. Well, I wasn't expecting to be attacked by my own side. Nevertheless, defendants, you can't deny that when the shot rang out in the restaurant, you had a gun in your hand. Well, yes, that's true, but But all I did was pick up the gun I saw on the floor next to the professor as I was leaving the restaurant. In fact, yes, there was someone much closer to the victim than me at that time. The highly suspicious lady in the stand. Objection. That will do, you dirty, rotten scoundrel. It is our time for cross-ex. Don't call me dirty, first of all. Your baseless accusations could very well cause an international incident, boy. It seems to me that your accusation is just as baseless as ours. What nonsense. That lady is merely stating what she saw. This is already an international incident as far as I'm concerned, anyway. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit. I'll press on this as well. It's all very well saying that, but can you prove it? Absolutely. I verified it personally. You verified it? Yes. Immediately after the incident, I checked to make sure the lady was not carrying a weapon. I distinctly remember her saying, "I'm not." That's all you did? You just asked her? Surely you carried out a physical search, Inspector. No. Why on earth not? The honorable English gentleman clearly stated that she did not possess a weapon. There was obviously no need for any further report probing into the matter. Or, there was no permission given for any further probing into the matter, perhaps. Think what you will, but if you're going to continue with this preposterous claim that the refined lady was concealing a firearm, the prosecution demands that you support your assertion with facts. In other words, he wants evidence. Ugh. English. The lady wishes to point out that of course she wanted to stay and assist with the investigation, but she was in a hurry to give a presentation at the university, so she was compelled to leave. Not to mention the fact that your office had told you to get the woman out of there. Not get her out of there, I just urged her to leave. The lady would like to point out that she in no way meant to run away from the scene of the crime. Which is why she's only too happy to cooperate and testify here in court today, of course. And like a certain student who refuses to admit when the game is up. The game has barely started, this is the first case. You could at least have the courtesy to pay attention while I'm goading you. Yeah, ad hominem is great. So she's maintaining that you got into an argument with a professor, at the end of which you shot him. Which is an out-and-out, totally unfounded lie. Still, her statement is very compelling. After all, she's an elegant, refined, young, and beautiful gentlewoman from Great Britain. In stark contrast to you, just from head to toe in a dull black school uniform. I'm just exactly the same way as you are, except for the flapping red ribbons. Well, anyway, this is our only chance to expose her testimony as the fiction that it is. Exclamation point. If we can't do that, the trial's over. Even you, with your thick skin, must be able to feel the murderous looks you're getting from around the room. Only too well, I feel half dead already. And the fact that I can't see a single inconsistency in her testimony isn't making me feel any better either. The first thing to do is press her on any of her statements that seem even slightly off to you. Do that, and an opening will present itself, I promise you. I need to expose the true face of this exotic foreigner that's hiding behind the mask. That's what I should be aiming for in this cross-examination. So, I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. I can press on anything without, like, losing, whatever. Yeah, after 2 p.m. in fact, it's really quite a late lunch, isn't it? You don't keep up with the latest fashions from Britain, do you? Late luncheons are on vogue, isn't that right? No. A decisive English no has quite a sting to it. The gentlewoman is currently working in the victim's research laboratory, it seems, so it was apparently a daily occurrence that they would lunch together. But on the day in question, the victim had another appointment at the clinic first. Yes, which we can prove from the medical report card that was submitted as evidence earlier. That's right. Miss Brett and the victim went to lunch following the victim's treatment, which is why it was so late. Yes, that all makes perfect sense. Such wonderful logic, what a shining example of English intelligence this fine Englishwoman is. So you both arrived at the restaurant. What happened next? The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beefsteak. Yes! He was unable to eat, you say? That was because he just had a tooth removed at the clinic, correct? That's right. You're supposed to actually check with the witness before answering. Was Miss Brett aware of that fact? It seems so, yes. She heard that the professor was to have some dental treatment. So that would mean that it was you who ate the steak pictured here. Is that right, Miss Brett? That's right, yes. The print you have there shows the table exactly as it was left after the horrifying events. Exactly as it was left. Dear me, what a harrowing experience. To have traveled to such a distant island on the far side of the world and have embroiled in such a tragic incident. Have no fear, my dear lady. I swear I will crush the evil fiend that has subjected you to this terrible plight. So the victim, Dr. Wilson, had nothing to eat or drink at all? That's right. Other than some carbonated water. Just water? Yes, the professor wasn't able to eat, but he had been given permission to drink water. So it appears that the diners toasted their lunch with a glass of water each. They each raised a glass of carbonated water. What do you think? Okay, they each. What is his last statement? Very meaningful. Because the picture contradicts it. That last statement of yours, Miss Brett, has a profound bearing on this case. Well, how fascinating. Do tell us, what is this profound bearing? Let's look at the court record to start. This. We can... Oh, well, we can't inspect it, because it's the picture. Whatever. It's a profound bearing, Ellipses. The significance of the statement will become apparent when the time is right. The defense calls for the witness's last statements to be formally added to the testimony. Well sidestepped, counsel. Very well. Miss Brett, kindly repeat what you just said to be added to your official testimony. Gladly, she said. That was brilliant, Kazuma. I'm going to remember that one. Which one? The significance will become apparent when the time is right. I could really use that phrase. I'd hope there are some more useful tips you're picking up from this experience than that, Ryunosuke. True. I ordered a beef steak for myself, and the professor and I said cheers over a glass of carbonated water. I just need for slightly attention. Cheers, carbonated water. After a while, the accused came over to the professor. Fierce argument. I'm gonna carry a gun. Shot him. Fierce. Beef steak. Can I press this, or have I already done that? So both of you and the professor drink this carbonated water, did you? Being the waiter, I poured the 2 glasses myself. I clearly remember doing so. Except you're actually a detective. And the beef steak? That was for you, Miss Brett? The lady says that she'd heard it was not customary to eat beef here until Japan opened its doors to the world. Yes, that's true. What a frightful place, is the lady's opinion. And I've heard it's not customary to eat sashimi in Great Britain. Now that's frightful. Every country has its own cuisine. As long as people have food to eat, what does it matter what it is? True, come to think of it. The first time I tried carbonated water, it was much more of a shock than the first time I tried beef. Yeah, that's true. Carbonated water is like... It's like spicy when you first taste it. But anyway, back to this witness's statement. Somehow, I feel like there's something out of place in what she's saying. I already know what it is. We need to pounce on even the slightest thing now, because you never know what might lead us to our goal. Our goal of turning this trial around. Understood, Kazuma. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor, and they got into a fierce argument. Then, not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been a culprit. And not long afterwards, took the gun, fierce argument, cheers over carbonated water. Yeah, there's just the one, so I'm gonna present that.
Yes!
Yes. That's it. Let me just confirm something, please. It's to do with this photographic print. Just a short while ago, you spoke of this print showing the victim's table at the crime scene. That it was exactly as it was left. That is correct, the lady says. Well, that is, it's odd, very odd. Dear me, what's odd is the defense's inability to express itself. That's kinda true, but I hate that guy, so I'm going to say no, it's not. Ryunosuke, what is it about the print that looks odd to you? Well, obviously, it's the cheers. The cheers? Miss Brett just told us that she and the professor said cheers over a glass of water. But if that's true, there should be 2 glasses on the table, not 1. Ah! Exclamation point. You're quite right, counsel. There is only 1 glass pictured here. Objection! Are we supposed to be impressed by this nitpicking over minutiae? Stuff that's minute? What possible difference does the presence or absence of a glass make on the case? Objection. Minutiae, you say? Could it be that the detective here removed a glass from the table to conceal the lady's presence? Of course not. I would never do something so reckless. But there should have been 2 glasses on the table. Or are you going to try and tell me you can clink with only 1? You're quite right. I certainly took 2 glasses to the table. English. Inspector, what did the lady say? It would seem that it was Miss Brett who took the glass from the table. What? It was also terrifying, everything that happened. I panicked and thought I should try to hide the fact that I'd been there at all, she's saying. Good gracious. Sorry. Oh my... There, as I assured the court before, this is of no consequence at all. Oh, please. You must remember that this student had just murdered this lady's luncheon companion before her very eyes. Who could blame her for concealing a glass or 2 in her state of disarray? That's absurd. Oh, really? So do we take it that you are now going to accuse this vulnerable young and beautiful woman of mischief? What? No. This can't be put down to mischief. I'd like to know exactly how the lady took the glass from the scene. English. It would seem that she slipped it into a small handbag that she was carrying, meaning there was a way for her to conceal a gun. A handbag, you say? Yes, Your Excellency, a small, handheld pouch commonly carried by well-to-do women in England. So the beautiful lady has very graciously explained how and why she removed the glass from the scene now. However, the fact remains that this glass has absolutely no bearing on the case. The student has been trying to confuse the court with logical reasoning, but in the end it comes to nothing. Hold it. No more pretentious accusations. You've wasted enough time already. Hold it. Indeed, the lady has offered a satisfactory explanation as to why she removed this glass. I think henceforth we can consider the matter to have no bearing on the case. Hold it. I mean, yes, I guess is what he would say. Counsel for the defense, are you in agreement? Well, I don't know really. No, if you want to pursue this matter further, you're going to need to show that it has some deeper significance. Yes, you're right. She has a bag so she can, yeah. It's the handbag. Wait, the lady put the glass in her handbag, you say? Yes, do try to keep up. It's already been explained to the court that all English gentlemen carry handbags for small items. Let me see. A little while ago, Miss Brett stated the following. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. But what she forgot to mention was her handbag, in which it would be perfectly possible to conceal a gun. Why does he look at his hand when he slaps the table? And not his left hand. You're right! Well done, partner. I had a feeling you'd pick up on that, too. So you were just gonna not say anything? What are you insinuating, you vile blackguard? Blackguard? I don't know. It's really very simple. The gunshot was heard when the defendant picked up the gun from the restaurant floor, and he didn't fire that gun. We can deduce there must have been another firearm at the scene. The true murder weapon, if you will. You can't seriously be suggesting... Inspector Hosonaga. Yes? Did you or did you not search Mr. Zelbrecht's handbag on the day of the murder? No, sir, I did not. As I thought. In other words, another gun, the one that was actually used to kill the professor, could have been hidden in Miss Brett's handbag. No. Order, order, order. What is the meaning of this, Inspector? The meaning of what, Prosecutor Ouchie? Why on earth did you not have the lady open her handbag and show you the contents at the time? Thanks to your bungling incompetence, now she has to endure these uncomfortable accusations. Brilliant work, partner. Now we have a chance to expose the... Why is he letting his blade out? It's not... Okay, whatever. Anyway. Now you have a chance to expose the real woman behind the mask. Do you think so, Kazuma? Or wait. Now we have the... wait. Cough. Well, what a sorry situation. Clearly, you have no faith in the police. Alright. Now I have a chance to expose... Do you think so, Kazuma? Okay, yeah, I did say that line wrong. Ahem, ahem, ahem. Well, what a sorry situation. Clearly, you have no faith in the police. As I said, I did not search the lady's handbag after the shooting. Simply because... it was unnecessary. Unnecessary in what way? I ought to thank the student lawyer, really. I have a piece of evidence here that I had completely forgotten about. This photographic print. This print is a photograph of what I thought would be prudent to take immediately after the shooting. Immediately after the shooting, she was holding the gun. As you can see, it clearly shows Miss Brett's handbag. Or the inside, rather than the part with just the mesh outside. You can see right through to what's inside. That's right. Apparently, meshwork bags like these are the height of fashion in London at the moment. So the contents are clearly visible. Exactly. So there was no need to search the lady's handbag. If there had been a gun inside, it would have been immediately obvious. Og. As you can see, there is nothing to imply Miss Brett's guilt here. There is. The fact that she was holding it. Thank you for helping to prove that, Naruhodo-san. Dude. Do you have a brain? Is there anyone home in there? Inspector Hosonaga will submit that print as evidence at once. Certainly, Your Excellency. The photograph has been entered to the court record. I think you've had long enough to cross-examine the witness, counsel. Periods. Ellipses, in fact. Magnifying glass. Magnifying glass? Probably just a weird mark. Or maybe a drop of blood? I don't know. In any case, there's her handbag. There's clearly just the glass inside. Is that the floor of the back? So if that's truly a mesh bag, why is there a back to it? There seems like there's a mesh compartment, but it's not completely mesh. There is also some fabric, which could be concealing the other side. Let's check this. Okay, that, right. The court has now been shown considerable evidence, as the photographic print just submitted to the court record appears to have no further significance. I am satisfied that there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Indeed, and there is only one logical conclusion, that the pathetic rookie slumped over the bench before us is the only possible perpetrator of this crime. No. Just when I thought I was beginning to turn things around. I'm in a worse situation than I was at the start. Kazuma is saying ellipses. Kazuma? Ellipses. I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. Exclamation point. The cross-examination of the witness is over. There's no way to force the trial to continue. What? You mean this is it? Ellipses. Haha. I must say you put up quite a fight for a rookie student, but the weak are meat while the strong eat. You are wasting your time. There's no way to defeat true justice. And I can't show this yet, but yeah, anyway. A fact you can chew onto your heart's content from the inside of your cell. This can't be happening. That's right, under a normal... No, you're not going to be found guilty of a crime you didn't commit. And Kazuma, his dream of going to study in Great Britain will slip through his fingers. Kazuma? What? Is there really no chance now of turning this trial around? You heard the judge. There's nothing about that last photograph the detective produced that we can contest. What do you mean? Which means there's no basis on which we can argue for the trial to continue. Very well. I will now proceed immediately to the ruling. Seems we will be able to report to the British government on time after all. That smug little... Ryunosuke Naruhodo, having considered all of the evidence placed before me, I hereby find... Yes! Wait, Your Excellency. Ryunosuke? I don't think you can rule on this case yet. Objection. This amateurishness is getting tedious. When His Excellency deems that the trial is over, he gives his ruling. That is the most basic protocol of the courtroom. Yes. Your Excellency, just a moment ago, you said this. As the photographic print submitted appears to have no further significance, there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Now, that means if there was a problem with the evidence, some significant detail, I mean, then ruling on the case at this time would be out of the question. This is blatant straw clutching. Look at this photographic print. All it shows is the handbag the gentleman was carrying on the day in question. There can be no problem with this evidence. You'd better know what you're doing, Ryunosuke. I understand your objection, counsel. Certainly, the new evidence submitted by the detective has not undergone the court's scrutiny. However, I fail to see how we can glean any new information from this handbag. Ha, my thoughts exactly. Really, the prosecution is becoming tired of this rookie's desperate wheezes. Yes, I am desperate, but this isn't a wheeze. There's something about this photograph which just doesn't seem right. If only I could put my finger on it. It could be the back, it could be the fact that she was holding the gun. I'll grant the defense one final opportunity. What? But be warned that if I am unsatisfied by your response here, the trial will be over with immediate effect. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Your Excellency. So, take another look at the photographic print the Inspector Osanaga submitted before. Okay. Okay. You will identify for the court where in this print we see the significant detail to which you have alluded. So do I need to click on it? Or like... So do I need to like look over and press A on a certain area? Or is that not? Well, I have 5 shots it seems. Significant detail to which we need. Is it not possible for me to move this with any like more speed or see exactly where or whatever? So if I do this, then it will get everything and I will see conclusively if there is an area where I can click or if I just have to present. So this is going to take a while. I don't like that I'm needing to do this at all, but that's alright. So, question of the day 2. How's your day going? I hope it's going well. But if it's not, then, well, tomorrow is just around the corner. It's already tonight, so... Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's anywhere where I can click on. Well, one thing, it could be the shadow showing that there's clearly not just mesh in the handbag. The handbag is made of not just mesh. History, present, court record options. Yep.
Yes!
Just here, I feel sure that around this area there's something extremely significant. Objection. What significance is your inability to positively identify anything wrong with this picture at all? What do you mean? Actually, what do you mean? I concur, and I praise the prosecutor for his quick-wittedness. I know it's the handbag that stands out in this picture, but you need to look further, examine everything, otherwise you might miss an important clue. Always try to see the whole and don't be biggered by individual details and how you can do it. To it, then I'm pointing out the one part of the picture just now. Well, unfortunately, I must do as I promised. You had your... What do you mean I have 5 chances, dude? Wait, Your Excellency. The court should give consideration to the fact that this man is an amateur. One more chance, please. Well, I suppose he is just a callous student lawyer with little sense of protocol in these matters. I'm starting to feel insulted here. So take another look at the photogenic prints Inspector Wasanaga submitted before. Okay. Is it here?
Yes!
Look at this here. It's a very unusual mark on the victim's wrist. That is true. It looks almost like a burn of some description.
Objection!
Exclamation point. Objection! Dear me, I was pondering what new piffle you would come out with. A burn, you say, on the victim's wrist? Clearly that has nothing to do whatsoever with the magnificent lady's handbag. Yes, that is a burn mark, you're right. Exclamation point. Go on, Inspector. The police coroner also noticed it when he was performing the post-mortem examination. It was deemed unrelated to the cause of death, so he didn't note it in his report. What did I tell you? In any case, we have no idea when the victim suffered this burn, do we? No possible way of knowing either. The more I look at it, the more I find myself intrigued by the curious shape of this mark. However, as Prosecutor Archie points out, unless a firm connection to the case can be shown, I cannot allow any further time to be spent on the precise details of this burn. English. Excuse me, Your Excellency, it would seem Miss Brett has a lunch appointment with the Dean and other university staff. She would like to know if she may be excused from the stand now. Oh, of course, dear lady. We shan't hold you up any longer. No, we shall, Ouchie. I'm quite sure His Excellency is about... To be honest, I'm not really sure. But if I don't keep pushing, then it's all over. So I was thinking I should keep digging and digging, in the hope that I might uncover something useful. Yes, you're right. I am? If we can just link that burn to the case, if we can do that, we might be able to prise this shutting door back open again. Just give up, counsel. You can't possibly hope to do that. Indeed, I'm afraid that without evidence, I can't allow you to pursue what is little more than conjecture. But if we had evidence that irrefutably links the burn on the victim's wrist to the case, then you would allow it? I would, yes. To tell the truth, I hadn't noticed that burn. But as soon as you pointed it out, what I did notice was the color draining from Miss Brett's face. Really? I have to find something between that burn and the case. The heat from the explosion of the gunpowder in the gun. This is the moment of truth. It's time to find some evidence that proves what this burn really means. So then, the defense will now present its evidence to the court. The evidence that demonstrates an inextricable connection between the victim's burn and this trial. That's not it. Plus, I'm going to examine this. No exit wound, sinkable fight at close range. Maybe, but I doubt it. He was shot from the chest and subsequently killed. It does make the whole picture contains the glass. Problem with that, though. I don't think that's going to be the most useful thing. Because, I mean, maybe, because of the gunpowder around. It's definitely not this. It's not this. Oh. Could it be... It's clearly a record of some kind of medical treatment. There's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction with the use of anesthesia. Extraction? So he had a tooth out. Yes, it sounds like just before he went for lunch. Dr. Wilson had to have a decayed tooth removed. They probably used laughing gas so he couldn't feel anything. Please, medical answer. Yes, I've heard people talking about this in the idea of anesthetic. It's possible to imagine not. Cautionary note at the end from whoever wrote this. It says, no food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. Yes. Actually, wait. Is it everywhere that has it? Okay, so no matter which section I look at, it's that. Also, if the burn had just happened, then, yeah. Anyway, photograph of handbag. I mean, this is the photo in question. Photograph of victim. I would like to present this evidence. The victim's burn is clearly related to this piece of evidence in the court record. And explain to the court, in 5 words or less, what the nature of that connection is. Well, it's obviously, thank you. 5 highly illuminating words. What? As I suspected, the rookie student is bluffing. Again. What do you mean? You can burn there yourself, Ryunosuke? For not saying it in 5 words? I feel like I've seen the shape of that burn somewhere. The shape. It's true. Look through the court record again. Carefully this time. Yes, yes I will. To find something between that burn and the case. Is there a picture with the gun in it? This is the moment of... Yes, I'm already aware of that. It's fine. Yes, I know. I know that. Demonstrates an inextricable connection between the victim's burn and this trial. It's not that... Okay. Could it have something to do... No, it's not the same shape as the stamps. It has nothing to do with this, it seems. Part of every visit. John Wilson, what the clinic? It says, what the clinic on this medical report card. I hate clinics, almost as much as I hate hospitals and surgeries. Aren't they all the same? When I was 5, I caught the only cold I've ever had in my life. And I remember even though I felt awful already, I had to have this hideous injection in my right arm. I'll never forget it. Never in my whole life. Most people would give their right arm to have had only one cold in their whole life. Anyway, I don't think this is a clinic where they treat people for illnesses like that. Let's keep looking for clues. We don't want to miss anything. Looks like this medical report card was first issued quite some time ago. It's probably a record of long-term treatment, that's why. With a family doctor, I imagine. Well, I can't imagine going to a doctor, I mean. As long as I'm alive, I'm never consulting them. That's a bad idea. Well, if you were dead, there'd be no point. So you don't like doctors then? Why would you? Why would you? Make you drink horrible-tasting medicine, give you painful injections? And then they demand lots of money from you for the privilege. All when you're at your lowest ebb. Ellipses. You sound like a model patient. With a bad case of stubbornness, no less, for which the only cure is very bitter medicine indeed. Okay. So this is empty. There's that. Extraction? Yes, Okay, well, not found in this, it seems. Business card. This point of the restaurant raises a number of questions, I think. Definitely, it's supposed to show the relative position of everything in the moments following the incident. But there's nothing to show the woman you say you saw there. Exactly, and that's not all. Look here in the upper left, where it says kitchen. Oh yes, what No one would use these complicated characters to write kitchen, especially not if they were in a hurry. I mean, you don't remember those characters yourself, don't you? Study harder, Ryunosuke. Kitchen. Entrance. Oh, that's just the one. Chief Inspector Satoru wasn't a primary criminal. Imperial Police Bureau. So he isn't a waiter at all. We have covered this. This makes it have a lot of power and influence if they're building it somehow here. Okay, click down here. Chief Inspector. Yeah, that's not. Okay. Could it be the shape? Wait, I've already tried that. No. It's not this. Single if I had close range. So I have 3 chances left. I have tried the photograph of the victim. This is the photograph in question, so I assume it's not going to be useful. Crime scene photograph. That's not going to be useful. Let's try the post-mortem report. That's the only real option I have at the moment. Yes. The victim's burn is clearly related to this piece of evidence in the court record. Objection. And explain to the court in 5 words or less what the nature of that connection is. Well, it's obviously, what? As I expected, Ricky Soon is bluffing. Again! I don't like that guy. You've been burned there yourself, Ryunosuke. Sorry. I do feel like I've seen the shape of that burn somewhere before, though. Look through the court record again. Carefully this time. Okay, this is going to sound really stupid because it absolutely totally is. So I think it might actually be the like little student badge thing. If he's seen that shape before. Yeah, Imperial. Ah, the symbol of Yuma University. Every student wears this pin with pride. It's funny, but most emblems seem to be either round or rectangular. I like this spike design even though it doesn't really make any sense. Although, it does cause problems. Lots of students end up cutting their fingers on their badges. Perhaps it was the idea of one of the founders. A sharp pin for a sharp mind or something? Okay. That's new. So it's just the whole thing? What about on the back? No. There's no student numbers to get on the back here. If you lose your pin, they won't accept you as a UMA student at the university. You may not come in, as they say. Of course, you can get a new pin made if you just tell them your number. I've actually lost mine twice already, but I still don't know my student number by heart. I always say to myself, I mustn't forget to write it down somewhere. But then I forget not to forget that. Okay, well, what has something the shape of the burn? Not this. Could it be something here? Wait a sec. I see, it's this, on the steak plate. I get it now. This is the shape of the burn.
Yes!
What's this, Counsel? Yet another print? Yes, Your Excellency. I believe photographic prints are an amazing invention. When we humans look at a scene, we miss things. But in a photograph, things we may have overlooked at the time are recorded forevermore. Do hurry up, Rookie. What are you trying to say? To inconvenience this poor lady any further really would be quite inexcusable. Actually, we may need you to stay with us a little longer if you don't mind, Miss Brett. Ellipses. You see, it's very clearly visible in this other photograph. How did the victim come to have that unusually shaped burn on his wrist? The reason is recorded here forevermore. What? How? Objection. You can't fool me with your little bluffs, boy. If that's your game, then let's see how it plays out. Show the court exactly what you mean. What is in this photograph that explains the reason for the victim's burn? This. The beef steak? Actually, the point is the metal plate the steak was served on. The plate? Your Excellency, are you alright? As you can see, there's an emblem on the plate. I would guess it's some sort of trademark of Le Carnival. The emblem on the plate. And the victim's burn are exactly the same shape. Ryunosuke, you genius. You're spot on. Which means the victim must have suffered this burn while he was present at the restaurant. Objection. But even if that is the case, we can't know if it happened on the day in question or not. Could have been the day before, or the day before that, and most likely happened at some other unrelated time. Well,
Objection!
Objection. Sadly, Prosecutor Ouchie, the chances of that are extremely slim. Thanks. Why? The outline of the burn is clearly discernible. Such a serious injury would have caused quite a commotion in the restaurant. Wouldn't you agree, Inspector Hosonaga? I can't imagine having missed such a terrible disaster, certainly. But... I would say, looking at the picture of the wound, that it wasn't suffered very long ago. And although it's not a particularly large burn, it is extremely well defined, as the defense just pointed out. This was no mild burn, that's for sure. Can you be more specific, Inspector? Well, let's see. If the plate was at around 90 degrees centigrade, a burn like that would have taken around 3 seconds. It's inconceivable that the victim wouldn't have let out a scream of pain then. I've been investigating at the restaurant for several weeks already, but I've not heard anyone scream at all. As the head waiter of Le Carnival, I can testify to that without hesitation. But you're a detective, not a waiter.
Yes!
There you have it. Something isn't right here. As the detective said, anyone who burnt themselves on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds would scream in pain. There's no question of that. And yet, Inspector Hosonaga never heard the professor scream, not on that day or any before it. That's right, and the strange thing is, on the day he was shot, I didn't hear him cry out either. What are you suggesting? Well, if the professor had carelessly laid his wrist on the plate for anything like 3 seconds that day, that would be beyond careless, I think, Counsel. And the rest of us in the restaurant, myself, the sergeant, and the old antiques dealer, all of us would without any question have heard him scream. Wouldn't you agree, Prosecutor Ouchie? Well, yes, I suppose. So the question is, why didn't a single person hear Dr. Wilson scream? Exclamation points. I almost don't believe it. Ryunosuke, do you think? Can it really be true? I never dreamed we'd arrive at a conclusion like this, but I'm starting to think that maybe we've been led into a terrible trap. There's only one explanation I can think of to make sense of this apparent impossibility. On the day in question, when he suffered the burn to his wrist, Dr. Wilson was already deceased. No man could remain silent while his wrist was burning on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds. That's clearly impossible, apart from in one particular situation. Counsel, are you suggesting? Yes, it's only possible. If the man was already dead, Already? Dead? Ellipses. Knowing what we know now, it's the only possible explanation. When the beefsteak was brought to Dr. Wilson's table that day, the professor was already dead. That's madness. Order, please. Counsel, explain this absurd notion at once. The victim was killed by a gunshot. That's right. That's absolutely right, Your Excellency. This is just another ridiculous ploy by the rookie student. But clearly he has no grasp of the facts. No, Prosecutor Ouchie. It's you who has no grasp of the facts. I beg your pardon. As soon as it became apparent that the victim had suffered that burn while at the restaurant, this whole case was turned upside down. Or have you not grasped that yet? Your Excellency, the court must hear from this witness again. If it's true, as we now believe, that the victim was already dead before the gunshot was heard, it's highly likely that Miss Brett knows something about it. Incredible. I certainly didn't anticipate this twist of events. I'm sorry to say, Miss Brett, that you will have to forget your luncheon engagement. But Your Excellency, the justice system in our court and our country may be in its infancy, but rest assured, all reasonable doubt must be dispelled before I am prepared to pass judgment. Thank you, Your Excellency. Ellipses. She's gonna speak Japanese now, isn't she? What was that smile? Yes, of course. I mean, I'd be delighted to help. Especially if it helps relations between my country and yours. See, she can speak Japanese! Thank you, Your Excellency. There we go.
Huh? Ah, Miss
Brett, you speak Japanese? Well, of course I do. I'm studying in your country, after all. But then, why have you been speaking through an interpreter until now? Good question. My mother tongue, the Queen's English, is the most refined and elegant language in the world. As a gentleman, I try to avoid speaking in your vulgar tones as much as possible. I hate this woman. She's a murderer and doesn't like Japanese because English is just nicer. But it seems the men in this land possess none of the chivalrous virtues of English gentlemen. So I can see that I shall have to lower myself to communicating with you all on your own level. Oh, well, you're the epitome of a true English gentlewoman. We are truly honored by the lavish consideration that you so graciously afford us. I see. In that case, Miss Brett, I will now ask you to testify in your own words about the events leading up to the death of the victim, Dr. Wilson. So, we're finally going to hear her own words on the matter. Things are getting interesting, Ryunosuke. More testimony. The victim's death. Unfortunately, I have no idea when the poor man burnt his wrist like that. When the waiter brought my steak, the professor and I raised our glasses in a toast. As far as I've heard, the post-mortem report showed no other possible cause of death beside the gunshot. If there is some other way a man's life could have been taken without leaving a trace, please do show me. Poison. But of course, this country's inferior investigative techniques probably wouldn't pick up on it anyway. Poison. Could have poisoned the drink. That most captivating and beautiful testimony will go down in the Supreme Court's history. Thank you. Easy does it. I hope that is the last time I will have to sully my lips with the coarse tones of your unbecoming tongue. Oh, forgive me. I do hope I haven't insulted. Are you... Not at all, not at all. What do you even... Ouchie, I hate you. Dude. And it seems very clear from your testimony that this boorish talk of the victim's burn is utterly irrelevant. I will be speaking to your country's Minister of Justice about what has happened here today. The Minister of Justice? May that irritating little bully of a student be given the harshest punishment possible. Amen. What? Brett, I don't like you. Huh? Thanks? Was that a prayer then? Well, you'll have to forgive the irritation, Miss Brett, and put up with a cross-examination now. Exclamation point. I expect you've noticed this little bully of a student, as you put it. Doesn't miss much. Ellipses. I'm sure I don't need to remind you, counsel, that this will be your final cross-examination in this trial. If you fail to demonstrate any problems with this witness' testimony, I will be ruling on the case immediately. Is that clear? Yes, Your Excellency. Then you may proceed with the cross-examination. Cross-examination. The victim's death. Unfortunately, I have no idea when the poor man burnt his wrist like that. When the waiter brought my steak, the professor and I raised our glasses in a toast. As far as I've heard, the post-mortem report showed no other possible cause of death besides the gunshot.
Yes!
Yes, it's written here in the paperwork. Fatal hemorrhage from ballistic trauma. Yes. Luckily for all of us, a little burn on the wrist isn't going to kill us. And there were no other signs of trauma on the victim's body to indicate some other cause of death. Poison. It can only have been the bullet from your gun that put an end to this innocent man's life. But it doesn't make sense. The burn must have happened straight away, when the plate was first brought to the table by the waiter. Yes, that's true. If it had cooled even slightly, it wouldn't have been able to make a burn like that. And if the victim burnt his wrist on the hot plate as soon as it was brought out from the kitchen, then he must have been already dead at that point. And yet, the fact is that the victim was killed by a gunshot to the chest. Unless you're able to show the court evidence to disprove that, this is a complete waste of time. I concur. Prosecutor Ouchie is right. Ellipses. If there's some other way a man's life could have been taken without leaving a trace, please do show me. Poison. Like the band, without leaving a trace? If someone is shot, or strangled, or stabbed, or thrown from a height, however a person's life is taken, there are always telltale traces on the body. Quite right, dear lady, and as our police force has thoroughly examined the body of the deceased, there can be no doubt. Isn't that right, Inspector Hosonaga? As I've said, I always aim for a flawless investigation. There would be physical traces with all those causes of death, that's true. But maybe there's some other way of killing someone that doesn't leave a mark. Like poison! If, heaven forbid, you doubt me, young man, you're going to have to tell everyone how exactly you think the professor did lose his life. Otherwise, I'm afraid your argument falls rather flat, doesn't it? Oh no, perish thought. Calling such a sweet young lady's innocence into question? On my honor, I, Taketsuchi Ouchi, will cut down any who dare cast such aspersions. Way of killing someone that leaves no trace. We need some evidence to back us up here. Yes, evidence. But of course, this country's inferior investigative techniques probably wouldn't pick up on it anyway.
Yes!
That part is kind of true. They just have a policeman. Inferior? What do you mean by that? In the lands of the Great British Empire, the police store everything found at a crime scene for later investigation. But in this country, you investigate once and that's the end of it. Isn't that so? Quite right. Le Carnival is open for business as usual today, just days after the incident. Exactly, which means that even if the investigation takes a different direction, vital evidence may be lost. It doesn't even occur to your naive detectives to try to preserve the crime scene. I'm trying to be as tactful about this as I can, you understand. Haha, a killer blow at the lady is as formidable as she is beautiful. Amazing. He's actually admitting our police may be flawed. Perhaps Prosecutor Ouchi is finally starting to see sense. I very much doubt that. Still, there's something about what Miss Brett just said. There was a moment before when something didn't seem quite right. Ellipses. What do you think, Ryunosuke? I think it's going terribly. No matter how much I press her, I'm not turning up any new information. Yes, as I suspected, she's a tough witness. We need to find a way to break her testimony, or the cross-examination will be over. But that would mean we have to find a way. There must be some clue somewhere to help us find a chink in her armor. Kazuma. What, Ryunosuke? There is one thing I noticed. Something that's been bothering me. Bothering you? You mean about Miss Brett? Actually, no. About Hosonaga. About the person standing next to her. Inspector Hosonaga. The detective? Yes, he seems to react a little strangely to Miss Brett's last statement. I was wondering if it might be significant. If it might present an opening, maybe. Alright, I have an idea. Try pressing her on that last statement one more time. If you think so, but this time, instead of targeting the woman herself, let's see what we can get out of the detective. Alright then. I wonder what Kazuma's thinking. I'll find out soon enough, I suppose. Let's press Miss Brett on her last statement again. Unfortunately, I have no idea when the poor man broke his wrist like that. The waiter brought my steak, but the rest when I raised our glasses and a toast. There's, of course... Actually, first I should get the first two.
Yes!
Hormones burnt. This time is on the steering plate for at least 3 seconds. You can't not have noticed. Do you think so? Let me ask you something. Sorry. Ever since I arrived at this courtroom, and even still now, the fly on those unsightly back trousers of yours has been wide open. You can't not have noticed, can you? Huh? What? Ah. What fun. You hadn't realized. The dear lady is absolutely right. As your friend, you've embarrassed me as well as yourself, Ryunosuke. Why didn't you tell me? Dr. Wilson was a true English gentleman. He chose honorable silence over a vulgar scream. Can your tiny brains imagine such a thing? Oh yes, I think my tiny brain can. Well, I can't. Anyway. Riz and the toast.
Yes!
As you testified before, you were drinking carbonated water, is that right? Dr. Wilson was only permitted to drink water at the time, if you remember, which explains why you ordered that drink. Correct, waiter? Exactly as you say, sir. Although, whether or not the professor actually drank any of the water when I delivered the steak to the table, I'm afraid I don't remember that. Darn you. I have enough English to understand that, at least. For the benefit of others in the court, it means bless you. I think it means the exact opposite. Yeah, she said darn. I promise. Anyway. As far as I've heard, the postmortem report showed no other possible cause of death besides the gunshot. Yes. Target Hosonaga. I fear you? What do you mean by that? Everything in this country isn't that right? You're right. Just days after the incident. Can I... I am... Whoops. Yep, that's all the buttons. And I don't know how to target him. Yes, there it is again. The detective's reaction is just the same as before. Why? Up until now, the detective has been in the stand with Miss Brett as her interpreter. But things are very different now. For this testimony, the detective is just listening to what the Englishwoman has to say. This could be a golden opportunity. What do you mean? When people are actually testifying, they're usually very careful not to let anything slip. However, when they're listening to someone else speak, you'll find they often let their guard down. You're right, look at him, he's lost in his own thoughts. It's time to pursue the man with his train of thought. Sorry, pursue? I'll explain how to do it now, Ryunosuke. It's all to do with the witness marker. What marker? At the moment, we're focused on Miss Brett, who's the person actually making the current statement. But by moving the marker left and right with the D-pad, you You can turn your attention to other people in the stand. While you're looking at the other witnesses, you'll be able to pursue them with A. If you catch the person at just the right time, you might uncover some new information to pursue. If you ever notice a strange atmosphere amongst the people on the stand, take a good look around. Alright then, so first I should move the marker across with left and right and focus on the detective. Then pursue him with A and see what's on his mind. Here we go. Exactly, which means even at the investigation.
Wait.
Can I press right to focus? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Yeah, what's the meaning of this? Cough, 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 cough. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to shock you. He really was lost in his thoughts. Deeply. It looked like you were thinking something just now, Inspector. Perhaps having heard what the lady next to you had to say? If there's something you'd like to say, please, share it with the court. What is the meaning of this? It's the delightful Englishwoman who's testifying at the moment. If you can't find fault with her testimony, then the cross-examination should be over, immediately. Oh, is that how it works? Absolutely not. The detective is in the stand, which makes him a valid witness. Yes, not to mention the fact that he's intimately involved in the case. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes? Do you have something to add in relation to the statement just made by Miss Brett? Well, yes, if you don't mind. I would like to speak. The lady is right. Our country's police practices are not as modern as those used in Great Britain, which is why I, Satoru Hosonaga, always strive to make every investigation I'm involved in flawless. What do you really mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean. I won't have evidence lacking on my watch. I'm not afraid to take everything I can from the scene of the crime. It's preserving evidence, you see. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. Cough, 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 cough. A crime scene thief? Well, it looks like the lady's remarks touched a nerve there. Take this, for example. Exclamation point. Is that? It's the bottle of carbonated water that I took to the victim's table on the day in question. Is there a second compartment in that? It totally looks like there's a second compartment, but whatever. The day in question, and yes, it's lost all of its fizz, having been opened 3 days ago now. But it was carbonated water. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, there's some left in the bottle. I can see it. Poison, and we're going to say, hey, Brett, you should drink this to prove it's not poison. One day our police force will be among the best in the world. That's kind of like a trope they have. Well, if you're so sure you didn't poison him, and you're so sure it's not poisoned, then clearly you'd be okay with drinking it, and they're not, and that's like admission of guilt, basically. Anyway, one day our police force will be among the best in the world. The time is coming, I guarantee it. Ahem, 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 ahem. I can't say I condone the witness's actions, but I do understand the sentiment. The court will accept the glass bottle of water as evidence. The carbonated water has been entered into the court record. Miss Brett, can you confirm that this is indeed the bottle from which you drank on the day of the victim's death? Yes, it was that bottle. What was that about? She seemed to avert her eyes when she answered the judge's question. Very well. Counsel, you may resume the cross-examination. And the inspector will kindly control his fervor. Ahem. Unfortunately, I have no idea when a poor man hurt his wrist like that. But waiter brought the third.
Yes.
Press. Without leaving a trace. Someone shot strangled sadly from a height. Where a person's life is taken, they always felt much in the body. Quite right. Isn't that right? As I've said, always aim for flawless investigation. But there's other way of killing without making a mark. Come forbid you got me, young man. Professor. Falls flat. Exclamation point. Perish the thought. Honor. Poison. We need some evidence to back us up here. Yes, evidence. Can I present, like, I can present the evidence, right? New evidence. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. I never even thought of pursuing another witness over the current witness's statements. That was a great idea of yours, Kazuma. Well, it was all thanks to you noticing that the detective had reacted strangely to what the lady said. I'd never have guessed you had all of that bubbling away under the surface. To be honest, you keep surprising me at every turn. Sorry? Oh, never mind. So we know that Dr. Wilson was killed at around the time the steak was brought to his table, and by some means, that left no physical trace on his body. If we could just demonstrate how it was done. Well, I do have one idea about that, about how the professor was killed. Maybe I should just present the evidence and see what happens. I do agree this time. Examine. Anything in place? Yeah, no, there's not two sections. It's just the one section, but she didn't drink from it, did she? So this carbonated water is the last drink Dr. Wilson ever had. It looks like there's a little left in the bottle, although it's just plain water now. You know, I've been sweating so much. I'm absolutely parched. Don't drink it, it's poison. I'll just have a sip of this keeping one. No, Ryunosuke, you can't do that. For one thing, that's evidence. You can't go drinking evidence. Oh no, you're right. We don't know what might be inside, do we? You never cease to amaze me, Ryunosuke, in more ways than one. Ellipses. I wonder, could there be anything in this water? What's the matter? You've gone quiet all of a sudden. I think I might have just worked something out. An interesting possibility. Exclamation point. The label is written in a foreign language that I don't recognize. Do you know what it says, Kazuma? I think it's French. This must be very expensive water. Yes, but what does it say? That's what I was asking. Then go to France and ask. You could just say that you don't know. So he doesn't speak French. Nothing with the lid. There's that, and there's the back. Nothing on the bottom or the cap. But I would like to present the carbonated bottle of water. The statement is clearly odd. What? No, not that one in particular. Oh, there used to be others there. I didn't know it was tied to that statement. How can I lower your hand? Never, not until I've proven that I'm innocent here. Yeah, so I brought my steak. Okay. Now I will present the evidence. Actually, should I, like, continue to... Find anything out of place? Can't find anything out of place. Can't find anything out of place. Okay. Already examined the water itself. Already examined the label. I need to present this now. I need to present this with this.
Yes!
I'm confident in this. What is this? The bottle of water? Actually, there is one method of killing a man without leaving a trace that comes to mind. Ellipses. Obviously, I'm referring to poison. Poison? On the day of his death, we know that Dr. Wilson drank from this bottle of carbonated water. Could it be that there was poison inside? Could it be that the professor actually died after taking a sip from his glass? Order, order, order. And on that day, who was sitting at the same table as the professor and able to slip the poison into his drink? There's only one person who could have possibly done it. Giselle Brett, it was you. Objection. This is outrageous to suggest such a thing without a scrap of evidence. You little rookie imbecile, have you even considered the delicate situation our country finds itself in now? Have you forgotten we only just signed an accord of friendship with the British Empire? Have you even the vaguest inkling that your rash accusations could jeopardize the entire treaty? Objection. This is not a political arena. This is a trial to determine one individual's guilt with respect to one crime. What? The fact that this woman is British makes no difference. We are here to determine the truth. Ahem. If I may, I will silence you forever for this disgraceful attack on— Shut up! It is you who should be silent. Of course. Dear lady, where did that come from? She just snapped. I'm afraid I may have spoken unfairly before. I offer my most humble apologies. I'm sorry, my lady. To what are you referring? I described your police force as inferior. But no matter how inferior they may be, you still investigated this particular point thoroughly, I believe? The bottle, I mean, Inspector, and whether it contained poison or not. Of course. You did? Have you forgotten what my guiding principle is already? I strive for a flawless investigation every time. I don't believe it. Eventually, we tested the inside of the bottle and its contents. And what did you find, Inspector? I ordered tests for every toxin that's available in this country at the present time. We could find no trace of poison in any description, Your Excellency. In this country, he said. Meticulously carried out by the chief coroner himself. No. I'm very grateful to all you Japanese. You've successfully established my complete innocence in this horrid affair. Thank you. But of course, my dear lady, the pleasure was all ours. I was so sure. This can't be right. Everything falls into place if he was poisoned. Thank you, counsel. I think that cross-examination has clarified everything. As the prosecution have asserted, a shot to the chest from the gun is the only conceivable cause of death. Furthermore, the accused, who by his own admission was holding this weapon, is the only possible culprit. I'm done for. That's not true. What about her? She literally had a gun, or she could have. Just to apologize for the inconvenience. Oh no, I'm just glad the matter is resolved. Before proceeding, I must ask the counsel for defense. Do you have any further new evidence to present to the court at this point? Ask her to drink it. Kazuma. Ellipses. I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. I have nothing more. Well, if you'll excuse me now, I really must be leaving. You sure? Hold it? Good. Hold it? Who's holding it? Oh, her. Please, wait. Isn't that... What is the meaning of this? Forgive me for intruding on court proceedings, Your Excellency. Susato Mikotoba. Judicial assistance to the defense. Mikotoba. Oh, his daughter. The judicial assistant of defense lawyer, Kazuma Asobi. Okay, assistant to the defense. Mikitoba? In my darkest hour, with nowhere left to go, she appeared like a bolt of lightning. And in her hand, she carried a small package wrapped in a furoshiki cloth. To be continued. Gosh dang. Well, sorry to leave you off at yet another cliffhanger. I assume you all know how this is going to go, at least. But in any case, I would like to thank you all for watching. And I will end off the stream here. See you in the next one.